Figglehorn new best friend, the genius behind Fred, Lucas!
Back in the late 2000s, an unlikely collision rocked teen TV. And his name was, guess what? Fred Figglehorn. Yeah, the guy on the thumbnail of this video. Surprised? You shouldn't be.
So yeah, here's a little DVD preview.
It's Fred!
YouTube's first big viral star, with his chaotic, high-pitched antics, went crashing into the polished laugh track world of Nickelodeon and Disney. And it's kind of funny to look back on now, knowing that YouTube is almost a superior streaming platform when it comes to content. So if anything, Fred Figglehorn was in the better place before he moved on to TV. As a middle schooler, I thought TV was the grand scope of everything. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000, focusing on 2000s media, movie, TVs, and so much more.
What the heck is this? Ha, you probably thought this was your dad, you loser. Anyways, I told you that I know where you live. P.S. Your voice is weird.
But what was he? He was famous for being this YouTuber that did this squealing, hyperactive, 6-year-old alter ego. His name was Lucas Cruikshank, and he played Fred. He was even the first YouTuber to hit 1 million subscribers by early 2009. And of course, TV networks had to take notice. In 2009, the height of Fred's viral fame, he pioneered guest appearances on 2 huge sitcoms. First iCarly and Nickelodeon, and then Hannah Montana on Disney Channel. And these shows I talk about a lot because there's so many similarities to them, mainly because they're about a teen and their experiences in the online universe. And it's interesting, it's a pop culture crossover of epic proportions. The chaotic energy of YouTube invaded the scripted, neon-lit realm of teen TV. What happened when this loose cannon of the internet met the well-oiled machines of 2000 sitcoms? Let's dive into both of these shows and talk about how it happened.
What's wrong with David Schwimmer?
So the iCarly episode is called I Meet Fred. It's season 2, episode 13. The 39th or 38th episode of iCarly produced, so they must have had their stuff pretty on track at that age. The episode setup is delightfully meta. During the iCarly webcast, we have a tech producer, Freddie, offhandedly admits he doesn't watch Fred or find his videos funny.
I didn't say he was unfunny, I just don't love his videos.
Well, apparently Freddy's got his little antibacterial underpants in a bunch.
And this is a big mistake because Fred is in universe a famous internet sensation. Like, he takes offense and dramatically announces on his own channel that he's quitting YouTube.
Now, I'm not gonna post any more Fred videos. Ever again.
Ooh, which is so foreshadowing because people do that all the time. Now people put apologies online, quitting online. Like, I even said happy birthday to my dad online. Like, that's crazy. It's the world we're living in. I wonder if I carried a bit of that mentality too. Like, when there were popular YouTubers like Shane Dawson or any of these other controversial ones, I pretty much played the role of Freddy, where I didn't like anything that was popular at the time. I purposely tried to not like Hamilton when that came out too. I'm like one of those hipsters. I'm sure a lot of you guys are like that too. There's something about the system that you just want to defy. But it was cool that I could relate to him in this moment. So suddenly, everybody at Ridgeway High School turns on iCarly and the whole trio for, quote-unquote, making Fred quit. It becomes this whole cancellation scandal of iCarly. I wish they called it iCarly, but then again, I guess people didn't really know what that meant at the time. Like, we didn't coin that term yet. It wouldn't count. So the trio are ostracized from their community and classmates because they're all diehard Fred fans, even though we've never mentioned it before. Like, clearly they all watched iCarly, so they were pretty present on the internet. I don't know why they never brought it up before. And Freddy even gets banned from, like, school clubs and everything. It kind of reminds me of me producing my own videos way back when. By the way, if you want to see that, I just put out a new video. I go over a lot of my offensive content from when I was growing up. If you guys want to check that out, it kind of reminds me of what Freddy's going through here. Basically, this whole social apocalypse turns against these people. And of course, Sam isn't having it because Freddy isn't even worth that kind of sacrifice, which is kind of cruel. But they're determined to make things right. I mean, at least Carly and Sam are. They all embark on a mission to track down Lucas Cruikshank, Fred's creator and alter ego, at his home in Idaho. Yeah, they literally road trip to Idaho to apologize to a YouTuber. They end up finding Lucas, and he drops a Scooby-Doo level revelation. He orchestrated the entire feud online as a publicity stunt.
Look, Fred is really sorry that he hurt your feelings.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that from the guy in the Bumblebee shirt.
So Fred, Lucas admits he was never really mad at Freddy. The fake quarrel was designed to boost views for both Fred's channel and the iCarly webcast. Huh, interesting.
You know, you could have at least told us what you were doing.
Yeah, you're right.
So that was the huge moral unload. Lucas is famous because he started an online hate group. Interesting.
Refreshing. Yikes, 18,000.
Are you sure?
Refreshing. 90.
Okay, why don't we stop refreshing?
I mean, it just goes to show what we were thinking back then and what we assumed things were gonna be like. To think this was like an acceptable solution, it's like, oh, that's all you were doing, that's great. I would have empathized a little bit more when I knew that Fred was hurt by these comments. But when the air clears because of that, Carly, Sam, and Freddy make peace with him and even bring him onto the iCarly web show. They low-key expose him to the entire world as like, this is Fred, Lucas Cruikshank. Imagine Hannah Montana went on iCarly and they were like, this is Miley Cyrus. And she was like, whoa, wait a minute, that was my secret. But shows don't get that good. It's too much for the internet. Then the episode concludes with a new crossover Fred video in which Carly, Fred, Spencer, Sam, they're all involved. And it's really sweet.
My mother ate my turtle. My bathroom is purple. How do you like me now, Judy? Is Kevin still better than me?
Essentially like a collab. And they all have high-pitched voices, which kind of outs Fred for being his whole gimmick. It's like, anybody can do this. Ooh, too soon? So did this episode feel forced? I mean, a little bit. Fans at the time definitely thought so too. I remember talking to my friends about the fact that it felt like adults were trying to bring us into the TV universe just by bringing on somebody we thought we knew, which could come across as a little bit desperate. But I doubt Nickelodeon actually cared. They just were excited that they got a viral kid on one of their shows to cross-promote. And essentially it says in the episode what they were trying to do. They were just trying to come together and capture each other's audiences. The sweet joint nature of capitalism shine. Overall, the video did feel like it was a 23-minute love letter to Lucas Cruikshank's creation, which is definitely something that pushed TV to its limits. Like, we've had interesting guest stars and old sitcoms. Like, TV has been pushed far, but this is like one of the few times that the internet fame bleeds into the broadcast world. With iCarly taking a back seat to another internet phenomenon is really interesting. It's almost like a crossover. But yeah, the episode essentially worships Fred's comedy. Nearly every character except Freddy is obsessed with this screaming chipmunk-voiced kid. The normally independent-minded Carly and Sam spend much of the episode scolding Freddy for not liking him, as if he's suffering this huge moral failure that makes him inadequate to everybody else. Which makes sense for a sitcom like iCarly.
Who threw this low-fat fat cake in my head? Huh? Well, I'm keeping it!
This whole thing felt a little inauthentic. The over-the-top premise left many viewers scratching their heads. Like, was iCarly really telling us that not laughing at Fred's tantrums make you a bad friend? Like, the normally balanced dynamic of the trio felt a little off-kilter in this episode just to squeeze in Fred. In fact, the heavy-handed lesson of it, everybody must love what's popular or else, made I Meet Fred a little bit of infamous. And I'm not meaning infamous as popular, as I've been using it in the past. I mean, infamous is really famous for the wrong reasons. It's viewed as one of the show's lesser liked episodes all around, which, how are you gonna beat I Bloop 2? But whatever. And apparently after the event, even Fred himself, the guest of honor, said he wasn't a fan of the episode, calling it one of the least favorite projects upon later reflection. And it's pretty telling when your guest star looks back and says, yikes, about this episode. I thought it was actually a lot better than he gave it credit for. Like, his intro to the real world added authenticity to iCarly, his show got a lot more recognition because of it. It just seems like a cool experiment. Like, he is one of the reasons iCarly as a premise became a popular concept. And I like the moments of meta humor. I feel like sometimes it was justified. Like, kind of how Lucas's tongue-in-cheek admission that the feud was for ratings. Like, that's just so real right now. And seeing the normally poised Carly and Freddy on helium voices. Oh wait, Carly was the only one who didn't have a helium voice. Okay, weird. This episode overall required a lot of suspending your disbelief, even by iCarly standards. It basically paused its regular groove to accommodate this viral tornado, and the seams showed, especially later as time passes. Critics and older viewers weren't impressed, and one Variety review even snarked that Fred reaches levels of insufferable dorkiness that can't be matched by Pee Wee Herman, Napoleon Dynamite, and Steve Urkel combined. And I love all those characters. To me, that would be a compliment, but I guess insufferable definitely is a negative connotation. At the time, people thought that YouTube was this dark web of real information and scary online tactics, but really it was just bringing the truth to light. It tried to honor Fred's popularity, but it may be a little too hard. And you can't deny that this was pretty forward thinking for 2009. Like, here was a major cable network showing openly and acknowledging that the internet creator could be as famous as a TV star. And iCarly was the perfect vehicle for him to take his popularity to the next level. The premise blurred the lines between web and TV entertainment. And while that intimidated a lot of people, it's just such a good foreshadowing of where we are now. As Lucas's TV debut, it definitely acted as a springboard, because Nickelodeon was clearly trying to make Fred the movie at the time, and they did. They got it out in 2010, and later an entire Fred TV series, which didn't do so great, but wasn't not well written. So from the network's perspective, the crossover was definitely a stunt and audition and popular. So could Fred match the energy of Nickelodeon enough to become one of their staple characters, in the same way that JoJo Siwa became this emblem for Nickelodeon? This is almost like a version of that didn't work out. Unfortunately, the fans' view of this episode is kind of sad. Like, that's where I feel like this was a misfire, because even though the Fred community got a lot of what they wanted, iCarly was definitely downgraded for a moment. That's where we get on to the next interesting project. You know, like, he did a lot of cool stuff like Fred the Show, Marvin, even his own 3-movie deal. But something that was lesser known is his appearance on Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana is one of my favorite shows. It's about Miley Stewart living a double life as a teen pop sensation, and I really don't have to fill you in on the premise of it.
I may be an old goat, but I can still kick your fine. Whoa!
But yeah, it's called Come Fail Away. It's season 3, episode 26, arguably when Hannah Montana was at its peak, and it aired in December 2009. It gave Lucas a chance to probably flex some more comedy muscles outside of the Figglehorn persona. But without too much advertising, they just casually put Lucas Cruikshank into this show. It was a wild collision, and Fred's appearance on Hannah Montana is a lot more laid back than it was on iCarly. And you could tell that the actor probably liked this even a little bit more. He plays a guy named Kyle McIntyre, a professional voice-over prodigy who the casting director brings in to help Miley with her own voice acting.
Kyle, do Hannah.
You get the best of both worlds.
Which is really cool because Fred is known for being a voice actor. His voice is the center of his comedy. And here Miley is trying to get a grip on that entire industry. So it's kind of like doubling backward, where Miley is trying to get into the internet world as opposed to the internet world getting to the main world. I don't even know. What world are we in right now? Somebody tell me. It's funny to think that the most talented person in the voiceover business is this teenage kid, but we're gonna have to suspend our disbelief for this episode.
I know exactly how you feel. I had to do the voice of a duck once, so I hired a duck coach.
A duck coach.
His impersonations do bother me a little bit. I feel like it's not Fred's best work, but we do get like a moment of Fred when he impersonates that rat character. It's cool because it makes it seem like he is this prodigy, which he kind of was on YouTube.
Hannah Montana, I'd like you to meet Granny Goat, Claude the Krabby Cow, and Frankie the Frantic Field Mouse.
He's depicted as this go-to guy for all things voice acting. He can effortlessly whip out sorts of zany voices and sound effects, and essentially a one-man cartoon band. Miley, being Miley, tries a bit too hard in this episode. She even wears an entire duck suit in her recording session, which has to be a little unprofessional, right? So Lucas's character, Kyle, likely gets a front row seat to Miley's over-the-top antics, chiming in with some goofy voices of his own, and eventually in this classic sitcom fashion, Miley learns about not forcing something that isn't in her forte, or maybe being herself, something like that. We could assume the animated duck either went really well or horrible. And compared to the iCarly crossover, his appearance on Hannah Montana is a lot more low-key, arguably more natural. He isn't labeled as Fred here, so there's no in-universe or meta joke about Fred here, and the approach allowed Disney to feature the essence of Fred, like this zany vocal comedy, without actually dropping a YouTube character into the show's continuity. In hindsight, that might have been a smart move. The tone of Hannah Montana, though plenty wacky, is still a Disney multicam sitcom with its own established reality. Having Miley fangirl over the internet or causing a disturbance with Fred would have been wacky, and I'm so glad they did it on iCarly because this wouldn't have worked. The moral is a lot more genuine, and it doesn't feel like it's just trying to be funny or just put these two large popular entities together for the sake of just publicity. It felt a lot less forced than the iCarly one. And if you didn't know who Fred was, Kyle just came off as this funny guest star that's integral to the week's plot. You get to see Lucas on Disney Channel, which was a cool crossover moment in itself. Like an internet Easter egg on live broadcast TV. And the episode didn't necessarily bend over backwards to hype up Fred, it didn't need to. While Miley tries and utterly fails at voice acting, Fred is actually kind of a decent guy in this moment, definitely ups his reputation in terms of fictional characters. Like here, Miley is the chaotic force instead of Lucas's character, just enough to react and advise, not putting the pressure too high on him to be the center of attention. I bet a lot of people even forgot this cameo happened. I mean, I just did a 3rd season retrospective on Hannah Montana, but I was still surprised to see him. I wonder if there was a lot of commercials advertising this at the time, but I'm pretty sure there were not. It's definitely smoother than a full-on meta crossover. Critics didn't have much to complain about with this episode. His performance was perfectly fine and served the story without hogging it. And of course, Disney gets to tip its hat to YouTube without the phenomenon of Fred compromising the Hannah Montana world. For me, it was awesome to know that Fred wasn't exclusively a Nickelodeon character. He must have maintained his IP to be able to do stuff like that. Appearing on Disney Channel and Nickelodeon in the same year was a rare feat, and Lucas really pulled it off. It was almost unheard of. But hey, it was in demand, and what's in demand is on demand. Now that sounded like a commercial though, didn't it? In contrast to iCarly's approach of directly adapting YouTube to TV with mixed results, Hannah's was definitely more cautious and calculated, with the humor focused on the skills of altering his voice, just what he was known for. These must have all been early experiments into blending new media stardom to old online platforms. It's weird to look back and remember that it was an era of uncertainty and opportunity at the same time, and watching homemade videos like Fred. There was probably a excitement and a little bit of a nervousness in combining these. Fred's 2009 guest shots demonstrate the spectrum of ways traditional media attempted to crossbreed with internet sensations. On iCarly, the merger was loud, self-referential, and a little bit messy, and the TV show essentially bent its knee to the YouTube star in an effort to be current. And on Hannah Montana, the merger was more of a friendly handshake, incorporating a young internet star into a storyline that could have existed without him, thereby gently introducing his talent to their audience. In both cases, we see TV networks treating the internet not as a rival to be ignored, but as a breeding ground for the next big thing. And that's all Disney Channel cared about, the next big thing, whether it was a singer or a dancer, like that's just their thing. There was almost a quaint novelty of 2009 with the idea of YouTubers on TV. After all, Fred Figglehorn is this grassroots phenomenon who proved that you could find just as quality humor online as in person. Or on network, rather. You don't need to be in the Hollywood studios just to make something come to life like that. This boy was a pioneer. He proved that chaotic YouTube energy could break mainstream television. At this point, we're used to internet celebs on talk shows, TikTokers doing Netflix series, and YouTube personalities hosting TV competitions. But in the late 2000s, Fred was truly breaking new ground. In the end, our stories about Fred on iCarly and Hannah Montana is a funny little time capsule of a more traditional teen TV world. It's equal parts cringe, and also heartwarming at the same time. And Fred Figglehorn barreled into our living rooms with a camcorder and a helium voice. And for a brief moment, he ruled YouTube and cable TV. So here's to Fred, the freckle-faced pioneer of online chaos, and his bizarre twin cameos of 2009. They gave us web culture nerds something to squeal about. If you want to hear more about iCarly or Hannah Montana from me, you could check out my channel, Johnny2000. I try to put up videos 3 times a week. Sometimes I can throw in another one. But for the most part, I just like to dive into 2000s nostalgia, compare it to kind of what we're going through today, going over like the psychology of how it shaped us as a culture. It's not always that deep, but it's usually that fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, and for all of your movies, media, TV from the 2000s nostalgia, come on down to Johnny 2000 and have a great day.